In this second part of our contemplations from the book of Things Omitted, I'm going to be addressing this one that I have titled Purpose, Pathways, Process, and Patterns. Purpose, Pathways, Process, and Patterns. You see, one big question that everyone seems to ask is, what's my purpose? A very renowned man of God had said some time ago that if the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. Now, what does abuse really mean? It could actually be a good use of something, but not its original purpose. So I'll give you an example. I have a knife, and I decide to use that knife, a kitchen knife that is supposed to be used to cut things in the kitchen, arrange them in the process of killing, and that kitchen knife finds its expression as a murder weapon. That is a good thing that is finding a purpose elsewhere. Now, whether it is good to murder someone, it's still probably even a subjective matter to address. Why? What if an assassin comes to the house and this assassin is trying to kill this person, and the only thing this person can lay hands on to protect himself or to protect herself is that knife? And by using that knife as a weapon in that moment, it became the saving grace. Now, that knife may have become a saving grace, but is that the original reason for the knife? Okay, so you have a spoon that is supposed to be used to eat, on the tablespoon. And maybe because of some intricate process around the gardening of a particular seed or a particular, growth, you decide to use that spoon in nursery. Now, what that simply means is that that spoon has found another purpose elsewhere. So this subject of purpose and abuse in all its entirety have become subjective. Because what is now abuse? Because someone else will decide and say something is abuse because that thing does not fit his or her own purpose. But if it is fitting the other person's purpose, it will not be considered as abuse. So what is purpose? What's life purpose? I had a conversation a couple of days with someone which is I'm sure he's in his mid-50s or going to 60. And he said to me, I just want to find my life's purpose. And so I'm wondering, someone is already 55 or 56 going to 60. And this person hasn't found yet what is his life's purpose. Why is purpose of life so elusive? Why does it seem like it's something people need to walk and go through all kinds of difficult situations to get? But you see, purpose is not actually a mission statement. I put it to you that purpose is the realization of who you are. It means that purpose is not something you set a journey to get or to arrive at. Purpose is something a realization that you arrive at, a point you get to after engaging in everything that God has brought your way up until that point. And you will get to that point and say, now I know that for this purpose I was born. It will be clear to you beyond reasonable doubt at that point that this is the reason I was born. But you will never find out what that thing is if you are not doing anything yet. If what you do is you are still waiting to find out what that purpose is before you set sail for it, you will never find it. Because that purpose is, if today what is brought your way is well addressed, you take whatever is brought your way and you put all of your energy, all of your power, and all of your might into it. And you do it well. Then you move on to the next thing that God brings your way. After a while, you will start to notice a pattern. After a while, you will start to see that there are certain kinds of things that were coming your way. And then you will come to what I called a realization. It is at that point that your purpose is defined. But truly speaking, how is it easy for anyone to go towards defining their purpose and be able to find it? Because you see, purpose may not be spoken to most of us in plain words, but there were certain things that God has given to all of us for us to be able to arrive at purpose. Now, each person has been given skill. When I say skill, most people think that skill is something so grand, something that you are so certified for, something so huge, something so that you have to learn and suffer, to get. No. Skills are simply things that you have gained expertise to do effortlessly. So somebody knows how to cook very well. This person can cook fantastic meal. But this person has abandoned cooking because cooking to him or her is for servants. This person leaves food and this person is doing project management. This person is learning all kinds of other skills. What is going to happen to him or her is that you would have learned so many things that are not natural to you. The real thing is that you know how to cook. Because, come to think of it, do you think God will create mosquitoes and not give mosquitoes what mosquitoes require to survive? Do you think anything else that God has created, lower than man, has been created without the things they require to survive? There is none. All of them have been given, even in their tiniest form, what they require. The mosquito has the proboscis attached to its mouth with which it sucks blood. Every other animal, the chameleon has the change on its skin so that it can blend into different weather. The lion has, a very well-built body with muscles, for him to be able to run and hunt after food. The fish has a slimy body, a body that is designed to be able to swim through waters. Why is it that human beings will now be on this earth and they will not have what it takes to live or to survive? It means it's either he does not know what God has given to him, or he knows what God has given to him, he does not know how to articulate it. Or he knows how to articulate it, but is lacking in resources on how to do that. Or he has the resources, he lacks the people. Or he has the people, he lacks the intellectual capacity to put everything together. No man, I repeat, no one is bereft of what they require to live. And so if that's the case, everyone has a skill. If, certain people will enter into certain place, and give them 5 minutes after entering into that place, everything in that space will be orderly. They will order it in such a way that nobody has done it before. And you'll be wondering, that person has organization as a skill set. It doesn't have to be a skill set that is structured. It doesn't have to be learned in a school or learned in a place. It is simply a skill, something God gave to you that you know how to do, and people can even attest to it that you know how to do it. That is a skill. Every person has a problem too. That's the second thing, a problem. Now, I don't think there's anyone in this planet Earth that does not have any problem. If anybody tells you that, the person is lying to you or is not telling you the whole truth. We all have problems. But you see, this is where the problem is. We are more interested in responding to other people's problems we cannot identify with. Problems people can't identify with, they would rather be trying to solve someone else's problem somewhere. Now, the real issue is, if I solve the problem of somebody in Senegal and I live in Nigeria, I will first of all still have a lot of issues with acquainting myself with the Senegalese people before they can accept my solution. I will need to learn their language. I will need to learn their culture. I will need to understand the way they behave. I will need to understand so many things before I'm able to communicate the solution that I've created to them. Take on a problem that is Nigerian. Not even just Nigerian yet. A problem that is Yoruba, if I'm a Yoruba man. A problem that is in Lagos, if I live in Lagos. A problem that is in Egba land, if I'm an Egba person. A problem that is in Maiduguri, if I live in Maiduguri. A problem that is in Aba, if I live in Aba. And I address that solution. I will need no introduction when it is time to introduce that solution to those who need them. So it means I'm talking about problems that we can relate to. Problems that are your problems, not other people's problem elsewhere, whose realities are far from yours. You see, and the third part is that every person has been given something that is called resources. Resources. Resources has three forms. I like to call them men, money, and minutes. Then the third thing that I spoke about is resources. Resources has three, I like to call them 3 M's: money, minutes, and men. It's because, you see, resources has 3 dimensions to it. I like to describe them as the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary level of resources. So you have money, men, and minutes. Minutes being time, men being people. So you have people, time, or rather you have time, money, and people. Now, every person that you meet has 24 hours. As long as that person is alive, as long as that person is breathing, he has 24 hours. Now, the interesting part with that is that 24 hours will have to come each minute after the other, each second after the other. But you have 24 hours. The president of a nation has the same 24 hours. This market woman in the market has the same 24 hours. So, as far as God is concerned, everybody has the same number of hours. The difference is what we do with those hours. What do you do with your time? I'm coming to that. The second level, which is the secondary level, is simply money. Now, the interesting part is that money, you cannot, all the money you will ever have control of in your lifetime is not going to come to you at once. You are going to need to get them one bit after the other, one profit after the other, one salary after the other, one payment after the other. So money will not come to you at once. Just like time will not come to you at once. And when money comes, it comes to you bit by bit. So you need money. That's the second level of resources. The third level of resource is people. People. Because every little thing that is done, everything that is ever done requires people to get them done. Now, the question is, most times, most people don't have enough people. We don't always have enough people to live with. So, these 3 resources I've mentioned, by the way, if God were to bring you, like I mentioned these 3 things, if God were to bring you all of the resources you require in life at once, you are most likely going to die. You probably die the instant you get it. Let me paint that to you as a picture. So you are supposed to spend 120 years on earth. And the day you were born, God decides to give you the 120 years the day you were born. What will happen to you? You die immediately you were born. Because it means you now have all your own 120 years immediately you were born. It simply means, what is next? You die immediately. It means you will die the day you were born. If God were to give you all of the money that you will ever have in this world, say 20, 200, 500 million, trillion dollars, I don't know what size of money it could be. But if God were to give all the money you will ever get in your entire life to you in one day, you are going to die that same day. Because if death does not come to you naturally, people will kill you because of that money. But you see, if God were to give you all of the people that you will require in life in one day, you are going to die the same day. You know why? Because when the child is born, the day you were born, if one of the things that people won't allow you to do is for people to touch you, Usually the parents and the nurses, they will not allow so many people to have access to you because you are still very, fragile. They don't want you to be infected, by people or microorganisms and things that are around people. So they try to keep you as clean as possible and as away from people as possible. What that simply means is that if the day you were born, God were to give you all of the 1 million or the 3 million or the 5 million people you are supposed to meet with, stampede will kill you. That same day. Now, what that simply implies is that resources never comes at once. And because it comes in trickles, it comes in pieces, it comes bit by bit, that is the challenge of every man. Now, based on these three things, the skill, the problems, and the resources, when you match your skills with your resources, what you create is value. The things that you already know how to do. When you match it with the resources that God has given to you, which means you match your time, you use your time to exercise your skills. When you use your money to exercise that skill, and you use the relationship that God has given you to exercise that skill, what you create is value. When you match the problems you have with the resources that you have, meaning if there is a problem and you are using your resources to address that problem, what you create is fortune. What you create is opportunities. Have you heard that statement before that says something like, opportunity only comes but once? Well, the opportunity that don't come to you twice are the opportunities you did not create. If someone else matched his own problem with his resources to create an opportunity, and he needs you to work in that environment, and they bring the opportunity to you and you are not responding on time, they will look for somebody else to fill that role. And the reason is because the opportunity is not created or was not created by you. But you see, for as long as you as an individual continue to match the problems that you know with the resources that you have, meaning you are using your time to address that problem. You are using your time, your money to address that problem. You are using the people or relationship around you to address that problem. You will have fortune. You will have opportunities. You will create them, actually. That goes a lot to say, those phone numbers that are on your phone, those contacts that you have of people that you know, what are they useful for? Those are people that God has put in your life. What are you using them for? When you call them, do they consider your call a disturbance? Or your call is, that guy is a guy with value. Is someone who has matched his skills with his resources to create value. So when he calls me, I want to pick his call because he must be adding value to me. It means that every resource that you have, if you apply it to the problems that you can relate to, you are going to create wealth. Now, if you match the skills that God has given to you with the problems that are available around you that you can relate to, that becomes your work. When the skills you have is not being used in the problems you are solving, it simply means you are not doing your work. The work that you are doing is not the work you are supposed to be doing. You are doing someone else's work. And I put it to you, most people that I know, most people that we see are doing somebody else's work. Because the problem they are trying to solve is not their own problem. And the skill they are using to solve that problem is actually not even for that problem. It's a case of somebody, like I explained earlier, who knows how to do certain things. All right? And the person, instead for the person to use it to solve a problem the person can see, the person is writing an application to get employed in Shell or get employed in one oil company. When the person gets the job, those are the kind of people who get frustrated by their job. After a while, they become frustrated. They are looking for the next job. And the reason is simple, because you cannot get fulfillment from work that you do that is not a match of your skill and the problems you can relate to. Now, in the center of these three things, which is your work, your value that you create, and the fortune that you create from it, is your purpose in life. If you're looking to understand your life purpose, you must have work. you must be creating value, and you must have fortunes. If you don't have fortunes, you don't create value, and you don't have work, you are far from realizing your life's purpose. So just in case you're listening to me, and you don't have a work, you have a job. Somebody is buying your time so that he can use you as people to meet his own need. Then you are going to have a lot of problems. Like I explained to you in those resources. You have, money, time, and then money, and then people. Usually, you cannot have money if you don't have time, because time is the primary resource. Money is the secondary resource, and people are the tertiary resource. If you cannot get secondary education without primary education, can you? It simply means you cannot have money without time. If your time has been used up with so many other things that are irrelevant, you will never have money, because you will have to exchange your time for money. Okay? If you don't have money, you can't have people. Have you noticed that when you don't have money, you don't have friends? It's because when you lack money, just like if you don't have secondary school education, you cannot go to a tertiary school. If you don't have money, you can't have people. Because how will you pay for them? How will you pay for their time? How will you ensure that they are able to do the things that you want them to do for you if you don't have money to pay them for their time? All right? So time will be exchanged for money. Money will be exchanged for people. And so those who have more need for time, they need more time to get things done than they have, they will exchange their money for somebody else's time. And half of the time, most people's work is just them simply exchanging their own time for money. They give you money and they get your time. You have work that you do, you create value, and you have fortunes. In the center of those three things is your purpose. By the time you run that wheel, you drive that wheel in your life for a while, you will realize your purpose. You are very close to realizing your purpose. So if you don't have work, or you are not creating any value, or you don't have fortune, you are very far away from purpose. But you see, this purpose itself, what is it? When you eventually find this purpose, how do you get there? How do you, it's a different thing to realize what the purpose is. It's a different thing to arrive at that purpose. I can realize that, Lagos is where the headquarters of the company I need to visit is. But how do I get to Lagos is a different ballgame entirely. So purpose, realizing purpose is a different thing, is one thing. On this other hand, getting to the purpose, the fulfillment of that purpose is another thing entirely. Now, I'm going to be speaking about pathways from purpose. So now that we know that except you have work and you create value and you have fortunes, you cannot realize your life purpose. Now that we have established that, how do we now realize that purpose? How do we get to that purpose? Honestly, if the destination is set and where you are is established, the destination is set and where you are is established, the pathway to that destination is a function of what is between you and that destination. So, for instance, I've used a story to illustrate this several times, and if you would like to read that, you should look for the book titled "If All Is Well, Why Am I Like This?"